But Malampaya is also an aging resource, and discussions about its decline have raised a difficult question.
Within just a few years, the fate of millions could hinge on a single offshore gas field. Deep beneath the waters of the Philippines, a discovery is stirring that could keep an entire nation powered, or push its energy future to the brink of uncertainty. Sometimes a country turns a corner not with fanfare, but with a steady, methodical announcement. In the Philippines, that moment arrived with the confirmation of a new offshore natural gas discovery a few kilometers east of the long-running Malampaya field off Palawan, an area that has quietly powered homes, schools, and businesses for more than 2 decades. The new reservoir, called Malampaya East 1, is the first significant find in Philippine waters in over a decade. It isn't just technical progress, it's a shift in the country's energy story. From the start, the message from Manila was measured but clear. This discovery is strategic, not just exciting. It can help stabilize electricity supply, extend the life of existing gas infrastructure, and reduce the pressure that comes when an aging field nears decline. Initial testing suggests the well can produce up to 60 million cubic feet per day, a flow rate that immediately reframes timelines and buys the country something it urgently needs: time to plan. Time to upgrade, to invest, to transition with fewer risks and fewer price shocks rippling through the grid. But the announcement came with more than optimism. It brought a sharpened focus on security and stewardship. Naval patrols, aerial surveillance, and maritime monitoring were reinforced around the operating area, visible enough to reassure investors and the public, restrained enough to stay routine and professional. The impression wasn't posturing, it was preparedness, a signal that energy and sovereignty are no longer separate conversations. They are, and always have been, 2 sides of the same national interest. The question for viewers is straightforward. What does this actually change? The short answer is, a lot. The longer answer unfolds across policy, economics, engineering, and the daily rhythm of power generation. This is the story of how one discovery can reshape a country's path, quietly, deliberately, and with benefits that are felt far from the platform itself. For years, the Philippines' energy landscape has revolved around a difficult balance. The nation needs reliable power to support growth in Luzon and beyond, yet it also faces exposure to global fuel prices and the logistical realities of an archipelago. Malampaya changed that equation 2 decades ago, delivering domestic natural gas that reliably feeds multiple power plants. As the original wells matured, however, industry and policymakers began to worry about declining output and what it might mean for electricity prices, grid stability, and long-term planning. That's the backdrop for Malampaya East 1. The newly confirmed reservoir contains about 98 billion cubic feet of gas in place, along with valuable condensates, energy-rich liquids that come up with the gas and improve the economics of production. On paper, that volume equates to nearly 14 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity, enough to supply roughly 5.7 million households or nearly 200,000 schools for a year. Numbers like that don't just drive headlines, they influence decisions about transit infrastructure, backup capacity, and how fast to expand renewables while keeping the grid stable. The Phase 4 campaign behind this discovery is led by a consortium with domestic participation and state involvement. That mix matters. It means skills and capital are being built at home, while technical standards align with global best practices. The government's posture is equally pragmatic: celebrate progress, scrutinize safety, and move deliberately toward commercial production, after environmental compliance, engineering designs, and operational safeguards are fully validated. If the theme sounds familiar, it's because the lesson of any mature energy sector is the same. Speed matters, but reliability matters more. There is also the geography. The field sits close to contested maritime areas where multiple states assert claims. The Philippines' response has been to normalize security, regular naval and air patrols, modern surveillance, and visible coordination among agencies. The tone is neither alarmist nor complacent. It's practical. Energy infrastructure is critical infrastructure, and securing it is now part of the daily operating environment. Not an event, but a standard. Most coverage of energy finds stops at the headline numbers: barrels, cubic feet, megawatt hours. What often gets missed are the mechanics that convert a discovery into electricity people can actually use. That conversion is where risk lives, and where good planning pays off. First, production ramps are intricate. After a successful well test, engineers still need to characterize the reservoir, run additional tests, design tie-ins or new facilities, and plan the safest, most efficient path to commercial output. That means months of subsurface modeling, materials procurement, environmental reviews, and safety case validation. It's not slow for the sake of slow. It's a deliberate sequence designed to avoid incidents that could halt operations later. The consortium's messaging reflects this discipline. The discovery is real, but the development path is careful, standards-driven, and engineered for long-term reliability. Second, the economics aren't just about price per unit of gas. The presence of condensates improves the value stream. Domestic gas offsets imports, dampening exposure to volatile global prices. Local content, engineers, technicians, services, keeps more of the value inside the country, which is why the government underscores this as both an energy and an industrial capacity story. Put simply, the same investments that stabilize the grid can also anchor high-skill jobs and supplier ecosystems. Third, energy security is a logistics problem as much as a legal one. In practice, safeguarding a field is less about singular shows of force and more about routine, predictable patrols, deconfliction procedures, and interagency coordination that becomes boring by design. The Philippines' response around Malampaya East 1, naval presence, aerial monitoring, inspections led by senior defense officials, says the goal isn't confrontation, it's assurance. Assurance for workers on site, for investors financing long lead equipment, and for families who ultimately care about one thing: will the lights stay on? Finally, natural gas has a particular role in the energy transition. Policymakers increasingly describe gas as a bridge fuel, fast-ramping backup for variable renewables like wind and solar. That's not a slogan, it's how large grids maintain frequency and stability. In the Philippine context, reliable domestic gas buys space to expand renewables without over-reliance on imported coal or diesel. Done responsibly, it supports lower overall emissions, better air quality, and a smoother path toward long-term sustainability. Imagine the decision chain from discovery to delivery. It begins offshore, where engineers and geologists are running simulations of how the reservoir will behave over years, not weeks. They're assessing flow properties, pressure responses, and how to integrate new production into existing infrastructure where possible. Every recommendation, pipeline diameter, compression, material specifications, feeds into a bigger question. How do we get dependable energy to the grid, safely and cost-effectively, for the longest time possible? Back on shore, policymakers are running a different set of models. What does a stable domestic supply mean for electricity prices? For power plants that rely on Malampaya? For the pace at which the country can add renewables while keeping the grid secure? The working assumption is that every day gained from domestic gas is a day less exposed to global volatility and supply chain disruptions. It's a hedge against spikes, a lever for planning, and an enabler for industries that need predictable power to expand. In the security loop, routine is the strategy. The armed forces step up aerial surveillance and maritime patrols, not as a campaign, but as a new normal. The purpose is straightforward: deter unauthorized activity, ensure safety for personnel and contractors, and maintain confidence that operations can continue regardless of ambient tensions in the broader region. Senior leaders conduct site inspections and briefings. Communications lines stay open. The tone is crisp, professional, and grounded in the idea that continuity is victory for critical infrastructure. Meanwhile, in the communities that supply the workforce, there's a quieter transformation. Skilled jobs in drilling, safety, marine operations, logistics, and environmental monitoring ripple outward into support industries: fabrication, transport, catering, technical services. For younger Filipinos entering engineering and science fields, Malampaya East 1 is an educational example. Complex subsurface science translated into reliable kilowatt hours at scale, underpinned by safety and environmental standards that meet international benchmarks. None of this is without risk. Wells disappoint, schedules slip, weather and waves don't read memos. Which is why the project narrative emphasizes methodical development over hype. Build the capability, follow the sequence, audit the safety case, rehearse the contingencies. In energy, drama is a cost, not a strategy. The plan here is to minimize that cost so the benefits, stable power, lower volatility, more options, can flow. In my view, Malampaya East 1 advances 3 strategic aims at once, and that's why it matters. 1. It stabilizes the present to enable the future. The Philippines needs headroom to modernize the grid and scale renewables without frequent price spikes and blackouts undermining confidence. Domestic gas is a stabilizer. The additional approximately 98 billion cubic feet doesn't solve every problem, but it buys time. Time to build transmission, to roll out energy efficiency, and to make smarter storage investments. That stability also improves the investment climate for industries that create long-term jobs. 2. It translates energy security into national capability. This discovery wasn't an accident. It's the result of sustained exploration work by a consortium operating to international standards, with Filipino engineers prominently involved. The government's posture, pairing operational prudence with visible professional security, signals that energy policy now sits squarely at the intersection of economics, engineering, and sovereignty. The practical effect is more than deterrence. It's a message to markets. The Philippines can manage critical infrastructure patiently and well. 3. It reframes how we talk about the transition. There's often a false choice presented between fossil fuels and renewables. In reality, well-managed natural gas is how many grids reduce coal dependence while integrating intermittent solar and wind. That's the bridge. It's not a shortcut nor a forever policy. It's a sequenced plan that allows renewables to scale without risking system stability. The government's own language reflects this. Gas as a bridge fuel, employed responsibly, while long-term sustainability remains the destination. There are cautions worth stating. Over-promising invites disappointment. Reservoir performance must be verified across seasons. Environmental safeguards must be enforced not just on paper, but on site. Maritime security should continue to be predictable, professional, and de-escalatory, focused on safety and continuity rather than optics. Above all, the public narrative should emphasize what truly matters: reliability, affordability, and responsibility. Those are the measures by which families and businesses will judge success. If you're a viewer trying to make sense of this story, here are the key takeaways that matter beyond the headlines. This is a real discovery with real numbers. Malampaya East 1's initial testing indicates up to 60 million cubic feet per day, with approximately 98 billion cubic feet in place and associated condensates. Translating those numbers to electricity yields nearly 14 billion kilowatt hours. Not a miracle, but a meaningful boost to domestic supply. Energy security is built through process. From reservoir modeling to safety documentation, from environmental compliance to engineering designs, the value lies in doing each step well. Rushed projects fail loudly. Well-sequenced projects succeed quietly for years. Expect the latter. Security is a professional routine, not a headline. Naval and aerial patrols, site inspections, and surveillance are there to make operations boring, in the best possible way. The objective isn't confrontation, it's continuity and safety for crews, contractors, and communities who rely on stable power. Gas plus renewables is the realistic path forward. Natural gas remains a bridge fuel, enabling a faster, more reliable transition by backing up variable renewables and reducing reliance on higher emissions imports. Domestic gas strengthens that bridge. Economic benefits extend beyond the wellhead. Skilled jobs, service contracts, and local supply chains turn energy projects into economic ecosystems. Policy consistency and steady management can compound those gains over the long term. For Filipino households and businesses, the practical value is simple: more reliable electricity and a better buffer against price shocks. For students and professionals, it's an example of how engineering, environmental management, and policy can align to produce tangible public value. In the months ahead, many of these scenes will look familiar. Concrete curing under Balabac's heat, shrink-wrapped cargo on Pag-Ace's apron, a frigate on the horizon, or a patrol aircraft tracing calm circles overhead. That repetition may prompt the question, why does this keep happening? It helps to see it as part of an ongoing learning process. Each patrol and upgrade reflects how a nation protects resources and manages its maritime responsibilities. As these efforts continue, steady progress, not dramatic moments, tells the story. If you have insights or questions, share them. Understanding grows when we explore these developments together.